Whether you feel like you've got the common plants down and you really feel like you need to spice up your collection, or you're already in that sort of rare plant collecting phase, this video is for you, because today I'm going to be showing you some rare / uncommon versions of common houseplants. So if you can take care of the common type, you can probably take care of the fun, cool, interesting, weird type as well. And I've done 2 of these videos previously. I will link them down below, but in this one I have more. There's always so many cool new rare plants out there that I want to show you all, so sorry if you're influenced by this video. I know I am influenced by it already. Like, looking at some of these plants, they're definitely on my wish list. Before we get into it though, I want to say, if you're new here and you don't know me already, hi, my name is Emma and I make houseplanty content all over the internet. So if you want to follow along with my houseplanty journey and maybe learn something along the way, stick around, watch some more of my videos and subscribe to my channel. If you are not new here, welcome back. I really appreciate you returning. Also, I want to say this video is very kindly sponsored by Plants with Willow, who I'll talk about a little bit later on in the video. Right, now getting into it, this first one is a syngonium, which you've probably seen all over the place. It's an arrowhead plant. They're fairly common, fairly easy. This one is probably the coolest syngonium I have ever seen in my entire life. The Syngonium chiapense, or chiapense. I'm not exactly sure on the pronunciation, but holy cow, this syngonium is so cool looking. And I don't have any more syngoniums at this point. I have just decided, for the most part, they're not for me. I think I really struggle with the sort of thin leaves of them, and I found that they're fairly pest prone. But this one, something about it just looks different. And I've heard from friends and patrons that the texture of it is a little bit thicker than the sort of average syngonium. And I am absolutely here for it. It kind of even looks like if Alba monstera didn't fenestrate. Because it's not supposed to fenestrate. It's got the very round heart-shaped leaves, and there's some there's the variegated form, there's also the green form, which I don't even think I would mind having just the plain green form. I think it's quite pretty either way. It's just such a cool looking plant that, I feel like it's kind of new on the rare plant scene. I'm not saying it's new full stop, but I've only just started seeing it pop up more and more sort of this past year. I'd never really heard of it before that, and I think it's going to grow in popularity massively very soon. So hopefully they're going to become more and more available. I'm hoping to hopefully get my hands on one at some point. I'm not trying to grow my collection that much at the minute, but if one of these were to come my way, I would not say no to it, because they're just so fun and funky, and I think I like how they grow quite differently to what I think of as a syngonium. They just don't give that traditional arrowhead plant vibe that syngoniums have. I don't know, I really like it. I would love to have one added to my collection. So this next one is an alocasia, similar-ish kind of to an alocasia poly. You'll see in a second what I'm talking about, but it is the alocasia venom, which is a wish list plant for me. I would love to get my hands on one. They're so cool. To me, it looks like an alocasia poly and an alocasia stingray had a baby, and that baby was really wrinkly and fully silver. Because the top of the leaves have those alocasia lobes, and it kind of fades into the stingray shape. It is just so phenomenal and weird and wonderful, and I feel like it's probably not that different in care to the sort of typical alocasia poly. I mean, given I've not tried it myself, but I can only imagine, based off of its form, that it's not that different or weird. Maybe it would want a little bit higher humidity, but I honestly don't even think that would be the case. It just looks like a really cool alocasia that would really heighten any sort of plant collection. I don't know, it's just right up my alley, and I'm hoping that these become more popular and more available. I've personally not even seen them sort of being sold in shops here, given, like I said, I'm not trying to add new plants to my collection at the minute, so I've not really been plant shopping online in the rare plant shops like I sometimes normally have been in the past. So I'm not looking hard, but I feel like I have a general idea of what's available, and this is not one that I've seen around, so hopefully it becomes more popular and more readily available soon. I don't know if it will, but holy cow, these are stunning. The next one is a rare version of a satin pothos, which was my personal first plant, and I'm pretty sure it's fairly early on in a lot of people's collecting journeys. They get this plant. The rare version Scindapsus tricolor. Either the normal tricolor, the tricolor dark form, the tricolor silver platinum. All of these are just the most beautiful Scindapsus ever. Like, I am obsessed with Scindapsus in general. I find them to be really cool and all fairly easy growing. I do have some uncommon ones in my collection, and I potentially have a tricolor in my mixed pot, but they all kind of blend together and I can't really tell. But specifically this sort of dark form and silver ones have really caught my eye recently, and oh my gosh, they like, I don't know how else to describe them other than like absolutely beautiful. Because like, I love this sort of normal like satin pothos 2 tones, but this one having 3, that like one like medium green in the middle between the dark and the silver, is just so incredibly interesting and fun, and it adds an extra like layer of dimension into the plant that's otherwise not there. And I'm pretty sure it is just as easy to care for as your average satin pothos. All of my uncommon Scindapsus have been in the exact same pot, easy care. They're not even getting any grow light, and they've been growing absolutely fine for me for a long time. And so I cannot imagine this one being all that different to that. I mean, a lot of them are being sold out of like Borneo and Indonesia, so like maybe they would want a little bit more humidity. But even still, it's a Scindapsus in the end, and I'm pretty sure it'll just be like a cool, chill, like really gorgeous plant. Next up is a plant that I didn't even know existed until like last month. Crazy, I know. I feel like I'm pretty versed in the plant community, but I actually have one, and it's a variegated version of the classic fiddle leaf fig, which I feel like fiddle leaf figs are everywhere, but the variegated version, holy cow, look at that. I didn't know this existed. I didn't know there was a variegated form of it. I was very surprised when I saw this actually on offer, and I can actually link the plants that I have and to where I got them down below in the description, because I would want to know where to get them, and I feel like you might as well. But I think this one is such a cool one, and mine's actually gone quite upright, which I have researched, and apparently that's a sign that it's happy, that it's not like in too dark of a spot, because when the leaves spread out, it means they're searching for light. So I'm hoping, fingers crossed, that that is the case with this one. I do believe it is happy in here, and it is just so cool. It's kind of like if a ficus, like elastica taniki, and a ficus lyrata had a baby. The leaves are just so cool and like white painted looking things. Phenomenal. And also, some of you might be wondering what this is that I have in my plant, and this is actually a smart plant sensor that I got from Willow, the sponsor of today's video, who I'm going to talk about a little bit now. For me in my collection, these plant sensors are quite good for plants that I'm not totally familiar with. This is my first ever fiddle leaf fig that I've ever had, and so I'm not super familiar with the care, and the fact that it's variegated as well kind of tells me that it's going to need a little bit more than the sort of average ficus lyrata. That is why I put in the Willow plant sensor, because I just wanted a little bit of help in growing this one to make sure that I was giving it the right conditions, specifically water-wise and light-wise. So this little sensor has little nodes on the bottom of it that are constantly measuring the soil moisture and will tell me when my plant is thirsty and needs a drink. And also, this little thing here is a light sensor, so it'll tell me if my plant is in too dark of a spot. Luckily, I have put this one in front of a grow light. I'm positive that the sensor is right in saying that it's in a good environment because these leaves have gone up the way they have. So I would highly recommend getting some for yourself. I actually have a discount code with them, which I will link down below in the description if you want to get some for yourself at a discounted rate. I highly recommend them. I have found it so incredibly useful for plants like this that are a little bit more out of my comfort zone, I should say. So thank you very much, Willow, for sponsoring this video. The next plant is a rare version of the common prayer plant or maranta. You can kind of get them anywhere. And there's actually a few different types of uncommon maranta, but the one I'm going to be focusing on today is the maranta no ID cat mustache. or cat's mustache. And holy cow, this is such a cool maranta. And I did have one at one point. It's been a while since I've had a maranta, but I'm actually kind of tempted to get some more again because I kind of miss how cool and beautiful they are. And especially the cat's mustache. Oh my gosh, the venation on these, this is why they're called the cat's mustache, by the way. The venation look like little cat whiskers. And I only just figured that out mentally very recently. I always just thought it was kind of a weird name, but I think they're so cool, and the like silveriness of their leaves, and they're a bit darker than the sort of classic green maranta, and they provide like a really nice contrast in the leaves. And back when I was growing a bunch of different types of maranta, including the cat's mustache, they all grew perfectly fine in the exact same conditions, and they were one was no harder than the other. And they liked a little bit of extra humidity, but marantas do in general. So if you can take care of a normal maranta, then the cat's mustache will not be any more difficult for you to have in your collection. It's just a cool, different form that you wouldn't really expect. And I'm pretty sure it's technically a no ID, even though it's been like casually named the cat's mustache. I don't know if there's like a full botanical name for this specific type of maranta, but it's really cool, and like I think still pretty difficult to get your hands on. For a while they were becoming a little bit more popular, but in recent years I feel like they've kind of fallen off the like radar again. Like I feel like marantas in general haven't been thought of as like cool and rare in a while, especially like the lemon lime and the silver band, which are both really freaking cool. For a while they were like top tier marantas and like really popular and everyone wanted them, and now I feel like they've just kind of disappeared from the like popular plant sphere, if that makes sense. So maybe you need to get yourself a maranta cat's mustache to like fill in this like gap in your collection. I feel like I probably do again at this point. And then we have an uncommon version of a raphidophora, and it's actually the raphidophora foraminifera, which holy cow, these are so freaking cool. And to me, these don't even look like the like classic raphidophora. They just grow in such a different form. They kind of more look like a monstera or a philodendron, but the way these fenestrations like build around the middle specifically, and then the ends of the leaf are just like solid, so freaking cool. Oh my gosh, I would love to add one of these to my collection. And there's also a variegated version as well, which, I mean, the variegation on these is so marbly and gorgeous, but both of these are uncommon and you're not going to be able to find them in your average plant store. I actually only know one person off the top of my head who actually has a foraminifera. So like, they're not really out there, but I really hope they become more popular and more people can get their hands on them. I hope I can get my hands on one because I think they're so pretty, and like the shape of the leaf and the way they grow. And I mean, I'm not saying I need more moss pole plants, but like this one is so cool and different, and unlike any other sort of plant I've seen before. Like I said, it kind of goes into monstera vibes, and I personally struggle with those like big leafed monstera, like esqueleto-y ones, or even like the Adansonii. Those aren't my favorites, but I feel like I like this one a whole heck of a lot more. And if I could get a foraminifera, I would snap one up in an absolute instant because they are so cool and different and weird and exciting. This next one, I don't really know exactly what common plant to compare it to because it's so different to all of the other philodendron I've ever seen, but it is the philodendron rugosum. Specifically the aberrant form, which I do believe I have here. And yes, this isn't a plant that's technically mine. It is Claire's birthday gift. She knows I'm giving it to her already, so like it doesn't matter if she's watching this video. But it is one of the weirdest philodendrons I have ever seen in my entire life. And this one is just a juvenile one. You can see it is very small, but the leaves are starting to kind of do that classic wrinkly thing that the rugosum does. Specifically, the aberrant form is the one that does this, but the leaves on this one are so cool and weird. You can kind of see it's similar to the venom with like the crunchy top bits. I don't know why I'm really fascinated with like these curled up crunchy sort of plants at the minute. I don't know, maybe it's a phase I'm in, but I think they're so cool. And with the rugosum, I love the way the middles, like the vein, kind of ombres out into the darker green. Mine, you can kind of see, is doing that a little bit. It doesn't have a very pronounced vein, if that makes sense. It doesn't just end at the side. It just fades out slowly from the middle. Oh, just so cool and weird. And honestly, I didn't even know this plant existed until I think August when I saw it online for the first time. And since then, I've seen it pop up a little bit more. Like I said, I can link where I got this one down below, so hopefully you can get your hands on one as well, but they're really not sold in very many places. And I really hope that they do become more popular because the big mature forms of them are stunning. Once they really start to crinkle in the tops of their lobes, that's where I find them so incredibly fascinating. And I really hope, and I'm pretty sure, I'm positive Claire could get this to grow really well. I fully believe in her abilities to size up philodendron. She is very good at it. But also, I just noticed this. Look at the aerial roots it's put out in here. Those are so cool. So it's definitely looking for something to climb. So I will suggest to Claire when I give it to her next week that she gets it on a pole ASAP, because it definitely looks like it could use one. But oh, it's just so fun and weird. I love it. Like, I'm actually kind of tempted to get one for myself now, but maybe I'll wait until Claire grows it really big and needs to chop it, because then I can have a more mature one, like, off the bat, you know? Up next, we have a different version of the classic Ficus elastica. This one is the Ficus shaveriana moonshine. And yes, I know for a fact that these are becoming so much more common. It's gotten to the point where I've been seeing them in like videos about plant shopping in Trader Joe's, if you're in the States, or they're being sold for not very much in plant shops, in big box stores now, and I love that. It makes me so happy, because this is no different in care than my other Ficus elasticas. It has the gorgeous, like, really rubber tree leaves to it. It is no different, except it's more variegated and has a fun, like, marble pattern to it. But it is just as easy. I personally found mine does really well in semi-hydro, same with my Ficus elasticas. They really like having that constant source of water in order to grow well. And actually, I have 2 of these at the minute, which I don't normally have 2 sets of the same plant. So maybe I'll join them together at some point, but they're both in semi-hydro and they're both very, very happy. But mostly I'm excited about them being so much more available lately, because I got this plant a couple years back and I spent 90 pounds. 90 pounds on a tiny plant, obviously smaller than this. Insane prices. And now you can probably get them for like less than 20 pounds, maybe even like 10, 12. Such a good deal. And I recommend this one so much. The leaves come in a little bit more pinky as well. This one's kind of just grown out of its pinky phase, but they're just so fun, and I think the variegation on them makes them so much more exciting than the sort of classic Ficus elasticas, but that's just my personal opinion. They're just beautiful, and if you see one of these in like even your local grocery store, get it. Absolutely worth it. I never have to worry about this one in the slightest. It's been such an easy grower for me. And then we have a fun and funky begonia. It's the begonia burkillii, both the dark form, which is like solid dark leaves, and the silver edge version. Both of these are so freaking cool, because when the light shines on them, they reflect like this iridescent blue color. Like, it almost looks fake, these pictures and videos. They don't really look real, but I would love to add one of these to my collection. They look so fun, and even when they're not shining like at you, because they need like a sort of iPhone flash or something in order to get that iridescence to like properly shine through, they look so nice. I really love the silver edge and the sort of like sparkliness of the leaves regardless of the iridescence. I think they are a little bit harder than the sort of average begonia. I think they would prefer slightly more maybe not quite terrarium conditions, but higher humidity would definitely be like recommended, I believe. But these ones, they're still not that available around me. I've kind of had my eye out for one for quite a long time, and I've never really had the chance to pick one up for what I would say is a reasonable price, given I'm like kind of cheap and I don't want to spend like hundreds and hundreds of pounds on a plant, or like 60 pounds on like a 2-leaf cutting. I can't do that. My brain just will not let me. But hopefully down the line they do get less expensive, because I think they are so cool and different, and like it kind of reminds me of like bioluminescence. I know that's not what it is. It's just like iridescence, but it is just something about it mesmerizes me, and I want to have that in my life all of the time forever. And then I've actually been able to get my hands on a couple of plants that I've spoken about in these sort of videos previously, and I wanted to tell you a little bit about my experiences with them so far. The first of which is my variegated banana plant, or Musa florida. And honestly, I have found this one to be actually quite low maintenance, chill, easy care plant. Not really that much different than your average banana plant in terms of care. And yes, because it's variegated, it would want a little bit more light, but I've found mine has sized up pretty significantly over the time I've had it. I've had it for maybe 5 or 6 months now, and like it was so much smaller when I originally got it. So it's doing really, really well in my collection, and I'm really happy with it so far. And it's been growing really fast as well. I didn't quite expect it to like size up so quickly, but it definitely has, and I'm really in love with it. I'm so glad I added it to my collection. And then the other one is the Monstera Burle Marx Flame, and I just have a little itty bitty one that I got fairly recently actually, and so far I really do like it. And yes, I know mine doesn't have the sort of classic Burle Marx flame fenestrations yet, but I'm hoping it will get there in time. I've just got this one, and actually the banana plant as well, in my Millsbo cabinet under some grow lights, so hopefully that encourages them to both size up well. But one of the main things that I did want to talk about is the thickness of these leaves is actually so much thicker than I expected it to. I expected them to feel like classic Monstera deliciosa leaves. Nah, these are much, much thicker, and I think like really cool. And I know I've hated on the Burle Marx Flame previously, but I'm here for it. I understand now. I really like it, and I cannot wait to see how mine sizes up in time. So there we go. Those are some uncommon versions of common plants that you might be able to take care of if you can take care of their like normal counterparts. These shouldn't be that much different. I really hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up down below and leave a comment on other houseplanty things you'd like me to talk about in the future, or if you know of any more like uncommon versions of common plants that I should talk about and like do research on or maybe get. Let me know those in the comments below as well, and subscribe for more. I hope you're having a fantastic day, and I will see you in the next one. Thank you so much for watching, and don't forget to keep growing. Bye!